All right, let's jump right into the Zauberflote. What? We're expecting a cold open? Before we get too far ahead, I just want to say I enjoyed Natalie Stutzman's work with the orchestra in the last two operas last year. For as many problems as I had with Don Giovanni, I really did enjoy her leading the music, and really was no difference here in Die Zauberflote. Also a shout out to Simon McBurney, who did the production here. Looking at some of the early images, it easily could have been something seen as an awful production. And I'm sure some people will say that, but even so, awful productions can be fun. At the very least, I enjoyed myself watching this. I think most of it worked. I don't know what I would polish, but it was a good production in my mind. Some of the key parts that made it unique wasn't just the setting, but also the inclusion of Foley artist Ruth Sullivan and visual artist Blake Haberman. Both seemed to have a lot of fun with this production. And as someone who went to school for sound production, I enjoy some good Foley. Now, fun fact, this is actually the first opera I ever saw. I went on a field trip to the Detroit Opera House my senior year in high school, and they were doing a dress rehearsal for the Magic Flute. It was us and a few other schools that were there that day, and it was a lot of fun. And you know, it's a fairly easy opera to recommend as a first opera for anyone wanting to get into the medium. And actually, this was one that my dad used to hear often in his house because his parents would have records of a few different operas. The Magic Flute was one that got played a lot in his home. And so when I got the opportunity to actually watch it through live at home, I asked if he wanted to see it with me, and he was very excited to watch it. And we both had fun. He was very entertained by a lot of the little gimmicks that were going on. I think it was, in a way, satisfying to finally share my love for this medium with someone else. Specifically someone close to me. I mean, we can bond over music, but bonding over this, I think, was something where it really was something special. Anyways, before I start getting sappy and all that, let's continue and... Oh, God. It's like the mountain climber game from Price is Right. Again, a lot of fun little visual gimmicks here and there. I will say, right after this, they had some fun projection going on here where you projected Erin Morley's face onto the paper that are acting like the birds, and onto his shirt, and onto various different white backgrounds. Just the fact they put it on his shirt, that's hilarious. I mean, you could, again, McBurney had fun with this. Even if you think this was bad, you can tell they were having fun with this. And you know what? Honestly, I think something kind of gets lost. Like, yeah, it's great that we can create serious art, but let's not forget that art can be fun. And art is at its best when we're able to experience all emotions, not always at the same time, but just be able to express everything here and there. It's why you have different things like Tristan and Isolde over here, and the Barber of Seville over here, and Dr. Atomic here, and La Traviata here.
really don't understand this.
Seriously, what's with the gunplay in these operas? Okay, last time, Don Giovanni, there's a guy that gets killed. Okay, fine. This time, why? Like, obviously he doesn't use it because there's no one that really dies in this opera-ish. He doesn't kill anyone with a gun. Okay, we know that. We've seen this opera enough to know that he doesn't do that. So what's the point of this? For Queen of the Night, they had Catherine Lewick, who I think was great. I know there were some people that maybe were disappointed that it was her again, or maybe it was just disappointed that it seems like they just keep casting her just as that. But honestly, with something where you're going in such a radical direction with this production, it makes sense to go with someone who you can depend on for this role. By the way, in case you're watching this and wondering why you have the orchestra raised up as high as they are, well, they use Met flautist Seth Morris, as well as the pianist Brian Wagorn. So for them to at least interact with the stage, they gotta raise up the pit so they're not all the way down there out of the way. And this allows Lawrence to go down there and grab Seth, let him perform the flute on stage. And it also allows Thomas to go and grab Brian and let him play the bells. You know what? That was the right amount of silly. And thankfully it didn't go into like cringe territory at that point. No, 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 no. Opera, no. We're not doing that. Anyways, typical stuff going on through the first act, and then you get to the second act, and it was after here that I realized there was some interesting arranging going on. Like typically in a standard version of the Magic Flute, you get the meeting of the priests, and then you get Tamino and Papageno getting led down a path. Tamino takes his oath, Papageno is told to Papagena, and the ladies from earlier try to tempt the men. And then the next scene, you'll get the Queen of the Night's aria, followed by Sarastro saving Pamina from Monostatos. After this, you get the first meeting with Papagena, the instruments get returned, food is given, and Pamina has her lament. Then you get the priest celebrating Tamino's early success, and Tamino and Pamina saying goodbye to one another. And then you follow this with Papageno's aria, and Papageno get revealed, and then pretty much it's the same as what we get here in this production. In this production, it goes as follows. Scene 1, you get the council meeting, Tamino takes his oath, Pamina and Tamino bid farewell, Papageno is told to Papagena, and the ladies tempt the men. Scene 2, the Queen of the Night and her aria, Sarastro protects Pamina from Monostatos. Scene 3, the men are led by the priests and are given the instruments back as well as food. Pamina has her lament, the priests celebrate success, and Papageno's aria. Oh yeah, and Papagena finally appears and reveals herself to Papageno. All in one scene. All in one scene. And then pretty much afterwards, everything after that is pretty much the same. Not sure how I feel about corporate Sarastro here. Given that we're dealing with priests of Osiris and Isis, it feels like a mix between Dr. Strangelove and the Stonecutters from The Simpsons. And of course, you got the pandering to New York. It did have a good reference after that.
Leave the flute! Take the cannoli!
And then, of course, after Pamina's lament, you get the big aria by Papageno, and I pretty much enjoyed everything about this segment here. Some things more than others. Like, it just about had every element involved in this song. I think the only thing that wasn't included was the flute player. You had a great joke with the bells, great use of the foley, running through the crowd, a legit phone number? Like, you know how in TV and movies you get 555 numbers? That's usually code for it being a fake number. That's not a 555 number. Like, it seemed really odd. Like, when I first saw it, I just thought it was a phone number for the Met, and the more I tried to look it up, the less I was able to find on it. Whose number is this? Let's see.
Welcome to Wireless. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again. Announcement for Welcome to Wireless. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again. Announcement for...
Huh. Well, that was anticlimactic. Who knows? Maybe they had something fancy set up for it. Maybe it wasn't an automated message thing that they had set up. Or, I don't know, maybe it was an old phone number the guy had and they just decided, you know what, let's just use this as a prank or something. It apparently goes nowhere. Honestly, I half expected it to be like one of those randomly generated numbers you get in one of those smartphone apps. You know, sometimes you use it if you're gonna give a phone number to someone that you're just starting to date but you're not sure about. You go to one of these apps, you get a random phone number, you give that phone number to them, and if it doesn't work out, change the number. Bye-bye, bad date. Anyways, let me just say, I thoroughly love Thomas Allemans as Papageno. He was brilliant in the role, had great comedic timing, and surprisingly, he has piano skills that he used in the opera.
Play!
Wait. Does that count as the gunfire? Did we just accomplish Chekhov's gun?
Play!
Bam! Just like that. That's all there is to it, Dustin. That's all there is to it.
And while we're giving out praise, I want to throw some love to Brenton Ryan, who played Monostatos. He was good in this role. And I just want to also give some props to those backstage, just making him look worse and worse every time he went out there. It was like, once he got fired by Sarastro, just things immediately went downhill and his legs looked just terrible and he was all bloody and bandaged by the end of it. It was great. It was good stuff. And honestly, I think between Thomas, Catherine, and Brenton, those three are the roles that really should have someone who's just willing to be just this big goof in those roles. And it really helps carry this opera. Yeah, you want someone strong in your Tamino and Pamina and your Sarastros, but really those three roles, in Papageno, the Queen of the Night, and Monostatos, those are the ones that really make this opera work. Anyways, we go to the trial scene and we got some cool stuff going on from Ruth and Blake. And of course, one of the unique things that they were showing in the previews was just Erin and Lawrence in these harnesses, just sort of hovering above the stage. I was wondering how that was going to play out. I wasn't sure if it was going to be something where they just were going to... Like, it doesn't make sense in my head now. Probably didn't back then, where I thought they were just going to have them fly around every now and then. Like, it makes sense to just have it in this one scene, in this one trial scene. I don't know, maybe I was thinking too much of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And then there was that last scene. I mean, that's the one where the Queen of the Night is sort of vanquished by the daylight. And you look at it, and the way that it plays out, like obviously they have everyone out during the last chorus, and it's this big sort of like group photo moment. But before that, they're still acting. And the Queen of the Night is still there. and she's picked up by Sarastro, who gives her a hug, and the daughter forgives her? What does this all mean? Like, when you put something on stage and you put it on there in a certain way, it's supposed to mean something, right? Like, is the queen, like, in this fog that affects her in nighttime? Is it like a curse that gets put on her at night and gets lifted by the day? Is it some sort of mental health allegory? Is it something stupidly misogynistic related that unfortunately you can't really take out of the opera because it's all baked in? I don't know. If someone can figure out why that happened, I would love to know. Please leave that in the comments. Okay, this was a lot of fun. Like, even if I come back to this and think this was a bad production, this was still a fun presentation. And if you're in that camp where you think this is a bad production, I hope you're at least able to see that so many people involved in it had a lot of fun. Anyways, I think that's just about everything. Did I miss something? The Hours in the Opera by Kevin Putz and... Oh, for f***, I'm not going to be able to get this done quickly enough. Okay, it's on the Mets on demand. It's a great opera. It's one of my favorites made so far this century. Go watch it. I might do a video on it later, just talking about things that came up when I showed it to my dad, but I think that will definitely come far, far later. Because, quite frankly, we got new operas coming up from the Met, and we got stuff from San Francisco, and I promise I will cover some of the new stuff coming out of there, because there's some interesting stuff there. As a matter of fact, the day I'm recording this, they're actually doing a live stream of The Revolution of Steve Jobs. So expect that one hopefully sometime soon. In the meantime, thank you for watching this. Thank you for joining me in this past season of the Met Opera. If you have thoughts on the opera, please leave them in the comments below. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up. It really helps with the algorithm. And if this is your first time, please subscribe for more when it comes out. I will see you... Seems wrong to say next season because it's like a couple weeks away. I'll see you next time. Take care.
Expect anything different.